I made a review of Mistai just a couple of weeks ago, and I was talking in that review about the fact that my reading list had expanded exponentially during the reading of Mistai in the process of consulting the endnotes at the end of every chapter. And I thought I'd give you a quick overview today of that reading list, starting maybe up here with some books on the modern practice of Greek polytheism. So the first one here is Hellenismos, Practicing Greek Polytheism Today by Tony Miażwicki, with a foreword by Stephen Skinner. I believe there's a recommendation here by Lon Milo Duquette as well, yes, which you can see right up there. And the idea is to present the non-expert with an overview of modern Greek polytheism. It looks like a really nice, thorough overview, a reasonably substantial book. The next one on the list is this one, Hellenic Polytheism, a much slimmer book, Household Worship, and this is by the Labyrinth organization. I'm not really going to call them company because they are, in fact, a group of Greek polytheists living in Greece and practicing Greek polytheism as they believe it might have actually looked some thousands of years ago. And they've translated this book, which was originally written in Greek, into the English language because they feel like Greek polytheism has a lot to offer to the international world, and people from around the world are welcome to worship the ancient Greek gods. And yeah, this is their way of saying if you want to give it a go, you can try it in this way. So next we've got Bacchae, this amazing tragedy by Euripides, and this is a new modern translation by Robin Robertson, and I read this in a single sitting. It's very, very gripping. It's a terrible story. I mean, it's a great story. It's just a very, very harrowing story, right? So Bacchus, or Dionysus, is rejected by a particular city, and he exacts his vengeance upon them. As I say, it's very readable, very gripping. And this translation, this specific translation by Robin Robertson, reads really freshly and entertainingly, and it's very, very easy to follow what's happening in a very modern language without sounding anachronistic or anything like that. It's very classic language being used, but in a modern way that makes the modern reader, the modern English-speaking reader, very, very comfortable. Next we've got Ovid, the Metamorphoses. So Ovid was a Latin writer. He wrote in Latin. He was a Roman poet, and he basically took the Greek myths about the Greek gods and transposed them into Latin with this really beautiful poetic style. The translation is by Alan Mandelbaum, and it again reads really, really well. Now, if you want the biggest collection of Greek myths in the most beautiful form, I think this is probably the right place to start. Many people say, well, no, he was Roman, they're not the original Greek, and well, I disagree there. I think that he did a fantastic job in bringing together a wealth of Greek mythology. Next, of course, we've got the Iliad and the Odyssey by Homer. What I don't have here are the Homeric hymns, which may or may not have been written by Homer. In fact, many people argue that they probably weren't written by Homer. But the Homeric hymns, if you can get hold of them, are a very early rendition of the Greek myths, and they also seem to be quite readable. Okay, continuing on the theme of primary sources, we've got the Orphic Hymns, translated by Patrick Dunn. Patrick Dunn has translated these specifically with the occult practitioner in mind. And so inside you have the ancient Greek version, and by them you have the English translation. I've already made a full review of this book, and you can check that review out on my channel. Links down below, of course. Next, we've got Mistai, which I reviewed quite recently, but if you missed the review, I do recommend going to check it out. This really opened up this entire world to me. The idea is that it's an investigation of the murals in one of the villas in Pompeii, which show the Bacchic mysteries as they were celebrated, or rather the initiatic rites as they were celebrated, as this fantastic bibliography at the back. Moving on, we've got another Latin adaptation of basically Homer's work, right? So Virgil recreated the Aeneid in Latin, and it reads very, very well. It was the main influence for Dante's Divine Comedy. It reads, if you know what you're looking at, like an initiatic text. All right, speaking of initiatic texts, next we've got the Golden Asse, the surprisingly appropriately named R-rated initiatic texts by excellence. This is the earliest novel that we currently know of, and it reads very much like pulp fiction, though it's clear from the text that Apuleius was initiated into many different mystery traditions. And so the text is interspersed with all of these little tidbits of Greek classical mythical lore. Next, we've got a couple of books here that look at the influence of the Greek myths on Christianity. Now, many people know very well about the Judaic origins of Christianity, but the Greek origins of Christianity are very often overlooked, and these two books really look into the parallels between the traditional Greek texts and what's written in the Gospels. It basically appears that the people who wrote the Gospels expected their readers to have a broad knowledge of these classical texts, particularly the Bacchae, where John's Gospel has almost word-for-word parallels with it. It's very, very interesting, and that's what this book is about. And this book is a little bit broader on its topic, with various parallels being drawn in different parts. And then, of course, there's this double volume, Dionysus Christ and the Death of God, which, that's going to take me a little while to get through those, I think. But the topic looks very interesting. The idea is that it's about mediations in the classical world and in Christianity and modernity. So that seems like a really nice take to see the parallels between these two paradigms. All right, next we've got these two books from the Aurum Solis. Now, Jean-Louis de Biassy is currently at the head of the Aurum Solis, and this Rediscover the Magic of the Gods and Goddesses is a required reading, from what I understand, for people who would like to join that particular lodge, which, as I was telling you about last video, I believe, has Greek and Gnostic ideas at the center of their practice. And of course, Planetary Magic, which I've reviewed already. You can check out that review to get a very close look at all of this, which is Denning and Phillips's take on the Aurum Solis's theurgic approach to working with the planetary energies of the 7 main Greek gods. Very, very interesting stuff. I'm going to skip over here to Gods of Love and Ecstasy, the Traditions of Shiva and Dionysus by Alain Danielou. It looks very interesting on the parallels between Dionysus and Shiva. Dionysus is said to have spent some time in India, and, well, this might be an interesting exploration of those ideas. And finally, this is a book that I only own as a Kindle edition. It's Geosophia, the Argo of Magic by Jake Stratton Kent. It's the Encyclopedia Goetica, Volume 2. And it's in 2 volumes, actually. This is the first of 2 volumes. And I'm just waiting for this to come out in hardcover. Hopefully, maybe next year. There should be a second edition. I hope it does in fact happen. Jake Stratton Kent digs into the origins of Goetic magic and the Goes, whom he believes to be at the origins of modern day magic. And it's all about the early Greek origins of what we now know as Goetic magic. So there we are, a brief overview of the books that I'm hoping to find time to read over the coming months, or dip into at the very least. It seems to me that Greek mythology is so central and foundational to Western spirituality, with the very concept of initiation into mystery schools stemming directly from those Hellenic origins. You might have noticed that there were quite a few Roman origin texts in the mix there, and honestly I don't think we should be afraid of looking for authentic Greek material there. Their goal, after all, was to preserve the mysteries for the Roman Empire, and so while Greece was busy suppressing the more authentic, magical side of their religion in order to become more respectable as they saw it, and in the process becoming just a sterile shadow of their Dionysian, Maenadic, Goetic origins, pre-Christian Rome was busy preserving as much of those origins for themselves as they could. This is how the Villa of the Mysteries that features in Peter Mark Adams's Mistai or Mistai is to be found in Pompeii rather than in Eleusis. Anyway, all very fascinating stuff that I'll be able to tell you more about once I've got through this mountain of books. I hope you enjoyed the video. Hopefully you found a book or two that piqued your interest. A huge thank you as always to the Foolish Fish members for keeping me and my family and this YouTube channel alive and our bookshelves well stacked. If you want to consider joining the Foolish Fish membership to support the channel with a monthly donation of $2, which gives you access to the Foolish Fish Discord server, among other perks, then you'll find the details on how to do that by clicking on the join button next to the subscribe button or following the instructions in the description. Please remember that when you click on any of the Amazon associate links in the description, then I get a small commission from that if you end up buying anything, even if it wasn't the item I originally linked to, and this is at no extra cost to you. And of course I always really appreciate it if any of you decide to take a second to click on that like button if you haven't already, and subscribe and comment and all that good algorithm food. That's always a huge help, and it means a great deal to me. So thank you for watching. See you very soon with another video. Take care of yourselves. Bye bye.